What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to lesson number 32 for A Course in Creativity, Macaroni Necklace Realities. What do macaroni necklaces have to do with anything? You're going to have to find out. It's in this video further down, so stay tuned. This is talking about inventing the world that we see as we see it. It is as we see it, right? So what are we putting into the reality that we see around us? How are we aligning with and being in accord with? If we look around us, this isn't just about the things around us, right? This isn't just about stuff and the material around us. This is how we feel when we look around us, at our friendships, at our jobs, at our family relationships. You know, there's one thing to feel a little bit meh from time to time and to feel a change coming. But when you look around and you really are outside of integrity with yourself, because when you look around and you see that you are not living what you should be, you are not being who you want to be, right? As a queer person and trans person, I get this completely, because there's a part of you inside, could be the tiny human living inside of you, could be that, but there's a part of you that is unexpressed. There's a part of your song, to quote a Maya Angelou line. There's a song that lives inside of you that's not singing, that's not being sung, but it's singing inside of you and echoing inside so loud that eventually it will make its way out, right? I liken it to the way that it would sound when I was younger to hear singing inside of cathedrals, and how it echoes first around the congregants and then up and up and up and up and up, right? That song is inside of you and it echoes much the same. It echoes so loud after a while that you can't help but have it burst forth. This isn't just about stuff either, right? Like, this isn't about homes or cars or money or 3D material things, like, you know, like I think about the sound of a debit machine clearing, right? Like, it's not that sound. This has more to do with the satisfaction that you feel within your life when you wake up in the morning, and what you have planned for that day, the people you are going to see, the life you are going to live, the truths you are going to live around you, through you, within you, made external, right? This is the meaning that we make in our lives. This is the meaning we make. And that is a reality we make every day, right? It depends on how awake we want to be to what we have inside of us. Many of us are disconnected from our heart center. This is what spiritual awakenings are about. This is what creative awakenings are for me. But this is about connecting to the part of you that is not only waking up, but that wants to be awake. There's a deep part of us, I think, that wants to be awake. And that's why we seek out specific experiences over and over. And, you know, as Dr. Shafali Sabri says, we don't live a life, we live a pattern. So we find patterns that help us express this life, right? And that meaning then becomes the degree that we make that meaning in accord with what's going on in our heart center, and listening to that and living that truth then becomes a projection that we turn outwards based on how close we are to that, or how far off that of the mark that is, right? So we project outwards that other people are doing X, Y, and Z thing. Other people, we project judgment outwards, because what we're doing is pushing it out instead of turning it within, because we feel that level of outside of integrity, and it can become guilt and judgment towards ourselves, right? So this is really an important spectrum to consider when we're thinking about things like fulfillment, and not just about, like, you know, they call them goal getters, right? Goal dash getters, right? This idea that you run out into the world and smash through all these walls and get what you want, or you magnetize it to you, right? But it's like this idea of the stuff being more important than your peace of mind along the way, right? The techniques to get things to come to you are one thing, but how happy are you fundamentally at your core? Because if you're outside of integrity with yourself, you can magnetize anything and everything you want. You can. That's just the energy, the energetics of it. But if you're miserable, that will never be enough, and it will be a continuous search, right? It will be a continuous search. So this particular lesson is about connecting to the tiny human inside of you a little bit more, listening to that voice a little bit more, to find out what it is that you want, to find out what it is that you're looking for. And not just looking for in the sense of, this is going to give me temporary relief from something that I'm feeling, be it unhappiness, dissatisfaction, loneliness, upset, frustration, feeling stuck, you name it, things that would come up and we're like, I need to go run away from that. Sink into it, sink deeper into it, sink into it. At the risk of to turn off YouTube, turn off your phone, take your Fitbit or, Apple Watch or whatever it is off for a moment. Take that off for a second and just sit with yourself. Just sit with yourself. I think about our reality as the offering that both our tiny human inside of us is making to us, but then that we also, in concert with that energy within us and that part of us, offer to the world. So this is our offering, right? The macaroni necklace, reality. This is the reality that we offer. And what it is to me is this connection to what is not just most important. I'm not talking about abstract values. I'm talking about connecting to the energy of you, removed from your ego and removed from all of the stuff that you've put in the way, right? All of the stuff that you've placed there that makes it appealing to you, that makes it appealing to acquire things or to, really work on the manifesting, when what will be more positive and powerful is being so at peace with where you are that whether it comes or not, you're good. Not because you're trying to count yourself out or because you're not manifesting. Because peace is the thing that we aim for. That's the thing that is the goal, not the stuff. That's a byproduct every time. So, are you searching for prescriptions that are the byproduct, or are you going to the root cause? Because thought is causative. That is the root cause here, right? Going to the root cause. Because when you focus on peace and that's your focus, when that is the main thing that you're thinking about primarily, you can't help but be at peace with others. You can't help but come into contact with these higher vibrations, these elevated, lifted moods of others, because you're more attuned to that. You're more attuned to that. Right. And it's not manipulation either, because, manipulation it can take on different forms, because manipulation can take place in the form of actual people manipulating situations and people, but then there's also an energetics of it. And sometimes we've all been, I'm sure, in positions where we've tried to persuade. Persuasion is manipulation if you think about the energetics of it, right? I used to work in sales. That is entirely right? You're trying to convince someone that they want something that they don't have and that they may not need, but it's just in the way you say it. That's why I really did not like that industry, and I tried to get out of it as soon as I could, because it was based in something that was so outside of integrity to me, right? But this manipulation energy is what we so often think of when we go manifesting. Yes, I'm going to manipulate reality. What about your peace, though? What about your peace? And this isn't to malign manifesting techniques, because I think that they are important, but it's just sort of pulling back for a second and asking us to reflect on why. What is it that makes you want those things? Because your inner child, your tiny human inside of you, has made a macaroni necklace in the form of the world around you. And a lot of the time we think about, when kids do this, it's so cute and sweet. We cherish it, right? I used to work at a bookstore, and I still have a card that a kid came in and brought me. This was almost 10 years ago now. I still have that. It's something you cherish because you know how much work went into the drawings inside of it. You know how much energy, and they're so excited to give because it's coming from this place that's so pure and just absolute light, right? Kids are the real sages on this planet. If you're looking for a source of wisdom, that's where it lives. Like, that's exactly where it lives. But kids have this energy that they bring to things, and we all have one in us that we are either listening to or rejecting. So I think about the macaroni necklaces that our tiny humans are bringing to us at every time. Right? What are we doing with those? This could be wishful thinking. This could be things that we hope for, that we try to reach for to align with that sense of peace, right? We reject them or we accept it based on what we believe about ourselves. That's the interesting part here, is that it's never really about the wishful thinking itself or anything like that. It's how silly does this make me feel? How silly does it make me feel to think about this thing happening? Or, to think about, in my teens, I think about crushes, right? Like crushes that you had. How stupid does it feel to think about that stuff? Because that verbiage that you use inside, like, ugh, this is dumb, that's dismissing these macaroni necklaces that your tiny human is bringing forth. And you know that it's part of this macaroni necklace reality when it's based in joy, right? You don't have to entertain every single adventure that your tiny human invites you to, because then that can become your shadow, right? There has to be a balance here. But there are times where you bring that forth, and the degree to which you reject your joy, the degree to which you reject happiness, the degree to which you reject worthiness. And this is about worthiness too, because if you reject and push away the idea that something amazing might happen, right? Even just the thought of it, wow, what would happen? Wouldn't that be amazing if that happened? Right? I can tell you, I didn't think about going to grad school for a very long time, but I did, because I entertained the thought from like it wouldn't go. And it wasn't like a knocking, it wasn't a banging on a door. It was just something that I was like, this would be really fun. I think this would be really fun. And I didn't let go of the idea, right? Because I recognized that there was an energy to it where if I pushed it away, that would be pushing away something that my tiny human inside was really eager for and wanting. There's also play, right? My vocal capacities are shifting as I take tea and my voice gets deeper, so there is an aggressive squeak now. So singing at the top of my lungs in the car is fun, but it's also, but this, even with that, doing that with people in the car, regardless of how much you sound like a 14-year-old boy, right? This is your tiny human. And a lot of the time, your tiny human is bringing these macaroni pieces forward for you to build a reality from. And the degree to which you reject those pieces as insufficient, not enough, silly, wishful thinking, you name it, right? You name it. That is also a rejection of yourself in a way, because your tiny human is bringing that to you. Again, you don't have to entertain every single thing that's brought forward, but do you believe that you are worthy of a world that's peaceful for you? Right? A lot of us, we live in a world that is very chaotic. And, coming from a home that was very tumultuous when I was younger, I can see it in the world now where there is a temperature set, which is chaos. So when your temperature is set to chaos, your set point will be there, not just as a collective, but then when you bring that down into a personalized place, you will personally be set to chaos. So it really is about listening to these tiny human, these little macaroni pieces that are connecting us to the awareness that we invent the reality that we see based on how we chose to make meaning of what's around us. And it's not just the meaning too, it's about choosing thoughts that feel better, that might make you cringe. Because, if you're, I love books, right? I love books, but there's some things they just can't teach you. There's some things they just can't teach you. And the activities that your inner child will compel you to do will feel ridiculous, but so much fun. When I used to take public transit more often, the number of times kids would ask me to read stories with them on the buses, or they would answer a call and they would hand you this invisible phone, or they would hand you a piece of a phone and you're having a conversation and that feels ridiculous, right? It feels ridiculous. But lean into it, because those ridiculous things, even if it's just entertaining the thought of something, you're making space for your tiny human. And the macaroni pieces that they're bringing you, you're not saying that is so dumb. Get with the program, kid. Like you're accepting as opposed to pushing away like that. And then again, it's about deserving. If you believe that you deserve to be heard, if you believe that you deserve the joy that tiny human is bringing forward, then you will listen, and you may not make the best phone call, it might not be the best story that you read ever, but I will tell you that it is bringing you closer to this integrated point where you're understanding that there's a peace of mind that's possible, right? We forget how integral this tiny human inside of us is to our present moment joy, right? We forget. Can they run the show? It's not so healthy. But giving them a voice for a moment is really important, because that's how you start to trust yourself. That's how you start to trust. And so that everything that you see around you right now, right, is something that you understand with clearer vision, that it is an invention based on something that it started before. So this is all past, right? All that's around us is it's gone. It's already gone. So let me ask you, do you like the macaroni necklace you see? Do you like the pieces that are in your world right now? Do you like that? Do you like what's around you? Because if not, you can take responsibility right now. Like, I would invite you to do that right now. You don't have to tell anyone you're doing it. I will keep your secret. Shh, I won't tell anyone. It will just be you, me, and YouTube. Right? But do you like it? Because if not, you can change it. And that's the beautiful part here, is that this is the world that you made based on things and meaning that you have created. This is the world as you see it. So if you don't like the macaroni necklace that you've made, you can change that at any time. You can change that right now. You may not see the evidence of that for a little while, but it's happening right now. Have you created metrics that are indicative of a successful macaroni necklace? Have you placed those limitations on yourself, not just to experience joy in specific ways, but have you placed those limits there because that's what someone taught you success was supposed to look like? I've never experienced a kid that said, I'm so sorry this macaroni necklace wasn't perfect. They're usually so excited because it's something that came from in here, from within them, right? And that's where this meaning that we make in our world, right? And the degree that we're operating from our heart center is our macaroni necklace offering to others too. That's our joy. That's our vulnerability. That's where we get into the juicy parts of life. Take a big bite. It's almost peach season. Well, it'll be like June, July. We're almost in June, but I'm so excited because it's just like ripe peaches. Nothing beats it, right? So it's like a juicy peach. That's what life is, right? Not everyone likes them, but I'll use the analogy anyway, right? So it's like that. Like, it's so ripe for the taking. And that's what joy is. This isn't saying make this the goal and the perfection has to, no, not at all. But have you, to use a Tony Robbins idea, have you made the game winnable for yourself, right? I'm not talking about like participation medals either, though, I mean, in the game of life, that really is a thing. That really is a thing. But have you made it so that you're creating success, the foundations for success for yourself? What does it look like to make the game unwinnable? Well, to believe that you don't deserve, that you are something or someone to be ashamed of, that you don't, there's something wrong with you, you're not enough, you couldn't possibly be enough. It also looks like changing the goalposts on yourself halfway through the game, right? Changing the score halfway through the game so that you can't win, whatever that means for you, right? For me, that means being present. It means having access to my joy and my tiny human inside of me. It means giving myself the benefit of a peace of mind that comes from something other than what's happening around me, because what's happening around me will always be changing and shifting, right? If I attach to that and if I latch onto that as the place that gives me meaning or an identity so that I know myself through the things outside of me, that is a losing game. That makes the game unwinnable. And all of those behaviors really speak to the fact that you feel you don't deserve peace, right? When we say that we are not enough, when we say that we are, bad, like I talked about in another video, when we say that those are two of the biggest ones, and Louise Hay, her work talks about this too. Those are the two big beliefs that we have that manifest in different ways, right? It's shockingly simple how those beliefs sit in our lives. I'm not enough and I am bad. So many different aspects of our lives are touched by those two beliefs with branch them off into different specificities, but they stay largely the same, right? And making the game unwinnable with all of these different things, because what you're doing is saying how hard the game is tells me, based on how many challenges I can bust through and break through it all, that tells me that I deserve the joy on the other side. Like, I've constructed here this ego thing, this other side, right? So I deserve the joy that will be on the other side of the challenges, because I do not believe that it can just flow freely and easily to me. So I have to effort, when it's just surrendering to what's happening right now, right? When it's just surrendering and saying, you know what, whatever's happening right now, that's where it is, and that's where I am. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Because when you make war with the present moment by believing that you should be something, somewhere, someone else, you kind of push away the wisdom that is available to you in the present moment, right? And we know time is happening simultaneously. It's happening all the time, the same time. So if that's the case, then we're really setting ourselves up to really lose something, to really lose. And that's how you can tell too that you're operating from that ego space where we're attaching identity onto something or someone or to some end goal, right? Where you're just, it starts to feel kind of bleh because you get to a place where you realize that the macaroni necklace that you've been prizing is store-bought, is one that it wasn't handmade. It wasn't something that you got any say in. It's something that was handed down to you, perhaps. It was something that was intended or purchased to be perfect, to look shiny, right? I will take macaroni necklace every day, all day long, right? I will take that all day long. So your creative spark today is to make a literal macaroni necklace. Bring your tiny human out, befriend it, meet it, right? And to take every piece of macaroni that you put on this necklace, paint it or decorate it in a way that symbolizes some feeling that you're befriending, something, some meaning that you want to make, that you're making in tandem with your inner child, right? Their input is very valuable and important because they got you through everything up to this point. They got you through everything. That's big, right? So in moments like this creative spark, we have an opportunity to welcome them back home and to give them a big hug with this kind of activity and to sink into that sense of play. So when you make your macaroni necklace, so make it and decorate it in whatever way you want. And I recommend putting yours in a prominent place that feels comfortable to you as a reminder of the reality that you're connecting to with them. And as a reminder that right here, right now, you're connecting with them and that their voice is deeply important. Because trauma, if nothing else, it teaches us that the inner child's voice is unimportant, right? I've learned this through my own experience. Trauma can teach us that the inner child's experience and voice are unimportant. Because I haven't experienced anything where the inner child wasn't trying to express feelings and trying to let it go, trying to release these things, trying to release pain and hurt, suffering, right? Trying to release suffering. But yet we cling to these ideas of what it should be and how appropriate it is and all of these things. And certainly there are things that we can and cannot do in this lifetime. Yeah, I'm not talking about those things. I am talking about the times where we don't cry when we need to, where we don't say to people, I just need a hug right now. And this is a really hard day, right? Is it the hardest day? No, but talking about your feelings is a function of inventing the world you see, because it means that you're allowing them to flow through you so that you can make meaning and create from a place that's much more open to the possibilities. Because what that process does is it closes you down, it restricts you, it shuts you off, right? It shuts you off from everything and makes it impossible for you to hear not just the voice of the tiny human inside you and your inner child, but it makes it impossible for you to hear love around you. It makes it impossible for you to hear care around you, because the mode that inner child and tiny human are stuck on, or it's like the needle gets jammed in one direction. So it's like you can't really hear anything else other than your pain doesn't matter. It's not important. Your feelings don't matter. No one cares about them. Why would you share them? They make you weak. That's not okay to be vulnerable. It's other people are going to hurt you if you're vulnerable, right? These are all things I had to work through on my own too, and that I've watched friends courageously work through as well. And this macaroni necklace, having it around as a reminder, is also a reminder of your creative power, right? It's your creative power. Because when you see this, it's sort of a visual cue and a moment to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for getting me through everything you did when I was younger. Thank you for protecting me in the ways that you did, and for reminding me now, shining my light feels so good because of the lessons that I learned from you, tiny human. It connects you to something that's so vast, this very vast part of you that is easy to forget when we're caught up in the milieu of everyday life, right? And it can be a lot of noise that we encounter and experience every day. But that is your lesson for today, my darling creative collective. Thank you for stopping by. If this resonated, please like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on the channel, but more than that, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And it just means so much to me. So thank you. Thank you. And wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or nights, I hope that it finds you very, very well, my friends. Take care.